She doesn't respect you, and if you don't act now, it's only going to get worse. She interrupts you. She ignores you. She rolls her eyes when you speak. She laughs at your ambition. She criticizes everything you do. And yet, you stay. Why? Because deep down, you think it'll change. But it won't. Not unless you change. Comment, "It stops now," if you've had enough of being disrespected. Number 1. Identify and define the behavior. You're sitting there trying to hold things together, trying to be the bigger person, trying to maintain peace. But every time you speak, she cuts you off, talks over you, or worse, responds with sarcasm like you're a burden for having feelings. And this has gone on for so long, you've begun to normalize it, brushing off your own discomfort because you've been taught to tolerate it, to be patient, to be understanding. But deep inside, you know something feels wrong, like you're being erased from your own relationship, and it starts subtle. She jokes at your expense in front of her friends and watches your face for a reaction, then escalates to ignoring your calls, your texts, showing up hours late without apology, then gaslights you when you call it out, telling you you're too sensitive. And what's worse is that over time, these moments compound until you start questioning your own standards, thinking maybe you're overreacting. Maybe love is supposed to feel like this, but love never strips a man of his dignity and peace. And if it does, then it isn't love. It's dependence, and identifying disrespect isn't just about her words. It's about the energy she brings, the contempt hidden in her tone, the fake smile she gives you when you're speaking from the heart. It's the way she scrolls through her phone while you're talking, the way she forgets what you say, the way she dismisses your goals, the way she undermines your authority in front of others and calls it joking, and you start to walk on eggshells, carefully choosing your words, not because you're afraid of her, but because you're exhausted from always being the one who has to maintain calm when she brings chaos. And the reason most men don't leave is not because they don't know it's wrong, but because they're hoping it will get better, because leaving means facing an empty bed, silent nights, missed routines. But staying means watching yourself die slowly while smiling in pictures that mean nothing. And this is why defining the behavior is not optional. It's the first non-negotiable step to reclaiming your clarity, because when you name it, you strip it of its power to confuse you, and most importantly, it gives you a target to act on instead of a fog to survive in. And you start this process by being brutally honest with yourself. No more sugarcoating, no more pretending it's fine, no more defending someone who doesn't defend you. You write it down. Every moment that made you feel small, every time your voice felt like background noise, every time your value was reduced to what you could provide instead of who you are. And you use that list as a mirror, not to judge yourself, but to awaken yourself, because awareness is the beginning of change. And if you don't see the behavior clearly, you will always live in confusion, tolerating what's slowly eroding your identity. And clarity is power. The power to say enough, the power to see patterns, the power to take control of your life again. And if she's constantly blaming you for every issue, belittling your efforts, acting like your presence is disposable, using affection as leverage, or dismissing your goals as childish, then you're not in a partnership, you're in a performance. And no man should have to audition for love in his own home. And if you keep letting it slide, she'll keep skating over your self-worth like it's nothing. And it'll end with you bitter, broken, and confused about where you lost yourself. So define the disrespect, label the lies, trace the pattern, and when you see it clearly, you'll know exactly what needs to be done next. And once that betrayal ends, everything begins, including your path to clarity, to strength, to a life led by unshakable principles that keep you grounded, no matter what chaos surrounds you. And if that journey feels overwhelming, if the next steps seem unclear, that's exactly why the Stoic relationship blueprint exists. Because this isn't just a book. It's a blueprint built on timeless principles that have anchored the strongest men in history, now distilled into words and tools you can carry with you every single day. And it's now available in audiobook form, so you can walk, run, train, or drive while absorbing life-changing truth that rebuilds your inner foundation from the ground up. And once it's yours forever. A weapon you can revisit every time life shakes you, a voice that reminds you of who you are and what you refuse to tolerate. So if you've ever asked, "What do I do now?" or "How do I stop feeling stuck?" or "How do I rebuild from here?" the answers are waiting for you in the link in the comments. Number 2. Communicate your feelings clearly. You've stayed silent long enough thinking that being quiet would preserve peace, but now the silence has turned into a prison. And every time you bite your tongue, a piece of you dies a little. Because you're not just avoiding conflict, you're abandoning yourself. And it's time to stop being afraid of your own voice and start speaking with conviction, not to argue, not to convince, but to claim your space. Because the truth is, if you don't say what's real for you, she'll define the reality for both of you. And when that happens, you become a background character in your own life. So the next time she disrespects you, you don't explode, you don't beg. You look her in the eye and speak calmly, firmly, clearly. "I don't accept being talked to like that." And that one sentence will say more than an hour of emotional ranting ever could, because the power isn't in how loud you are, it's in how certain you are. And you stop talking once you've said your truth, because silence after a clear boundary is louder than 1,000 explanations. And when you do this consistently, you create emotional clarity. She will know where you stand, and more importantly, so will you. And it's in that clarity that your strength is built, because it forces you to stop seeking validation and start acting from principle. And most men never reach this point because they're terrified of the fallout, of what she'll say, of what happens if she doesn't take them seriously. But if she doesn't take you seriously when you calmly express your needs, that's the biggest red flag you'll ever see, because love that doesn't make space for truth isn't love. It's control with sugar on top. And if she mocks your tone, changes the subject, or flips the blame onto you, she's not engaging in dialogue, she's defending dominance. And you do not reason with someone who weaponizes your honesty against you. You withdraw your emotional energy and redirect it into rebuilding your own life. Because communication is not about convincing her to see your side. It's about declaring your standards and watching her either rise or leave. And both outcomes are clarity. Both outcomes serve your peace. And if you don't know how to say what you feel, start simple. "This doesn't feel right to me. I'm not okay with that. I need space to think." And these aren't weaknesses, they're strength in its purest form. And you must remember that speaking clearly is not about using fancy words or deep philosophies. It's about being honest with zero need to be liked, because when you stop performing for approval, you begin operating from self-respect. And if she's used to manipulating you with guilt, with tears, with silence, she'll test you when you speak up. And your only job is to remain unmoved, calm, focused, because what you say matters less than how consistent you are after you say it. And real power is when you don't have to raise your voice to raise your standard, when you don't need her understanding to act on your truth. And if she threatens to leave because you voiced a boundary, let her. If she laughs in your face because you shared your feelings, observe it. Because you just uncovered the truth she's been hiding behind charm. And the more you speak clearly, the less you'll tolerate chaos, because your mind will crave peace like never before. And that peace begins with speaking the truth. Not for her to hear, but for you to finally live. Number 3, set and enforce clear boundaries. You can't complain about being disrespected while continuing to show up for it, because every time you let something slide, you teach her that your standards are flexible, and standards that bend become rules that break. So the first thing you must understand is that a boundary is not something you say, it's something you live. It's the invisible wall that separates who you are from what you tolerate, and enforcing it is not about being angry or confrontational. It's about being consistent in how you respond when that line is crossed, because there's no power in telling her, "Don't talk to me like that," if the next day you're back under the same roof laughing like nothing happened. And this is where most men fail. They set a boundary one day, then break it themselves the next, which tells her that all she has to do is wait out your anger, wait for your need for connection to override your commitment to self-respect, and she will push until she knows you don't mean what you say. So the way you flip that script is by becoming a man whose boundaries are non-negotiable, not because you shout about them, but because you walk the moment they're disrespected, not with rage, not with emotional fireworks, but with calm clarity and a refusal to explain again what you've already made clear. And it's not about punishing her, it's about honoring yourself, because a man who continues to stay in environments that degrade him cannot grow. He shrinks, and every time he shrinks, he resents her more and respects himself less. And that resentment turns into passive aggression, into silent suffering, into emotional numbness. And that is not how men were meant to live, because the essence of your strength isn't in how much you endure. It's in how quickly you remove yourself from what dishonors you. And if she crosses the line by calling you names, throwing objects, threatening to leave in every argument, using your vulnerability as a weapon, or talking down to you in front of others, your response isn't to argue or plead. It's to calmly step back and disengage, to show her through action that your standards are not up for debate, and you do this again and again until she either learns the line or loses access to you. And yes, she will test you. She will cry. She will blame you for being too cold or dramatic or not fighting for the relationship. And that's exactly how you know the boundary was necessary, because anyone who panics when you protect your peace was benefiting from your lack of it. And you must be okay with that truth, even if it means walking away from years, from memories, from routines. Because what you're really walking away from is the slow death of your soul, and nothing is worth that. And if you've never enforced a boundary before, start with one. The next time she talks down to you, end the conversation immediately. Leave the room, leave the house if you have to. But don't stay and try to fix her feelings, because it's not about her feelings. It's about your foundation, and a man who protects his foundation is a man who builds a future worth living in. And once you see how your peace returns when you stop entertaining disrespect, you'll never tolerate it again. And it all begins with this: choose your line, state it once, enforce it every time, and never explain it twice. Number 4, model respectful behavior. You don't teach people how to treat you with lectures. You do it with how you treat yourself when no one's watching, because your behavior becomes the blueprint for how others engage with you. And if you're constantly apologizing for having needs, if you're always chasing approval, if you allow yourself to be interrupted, dismissed, ignored, or belittled without consequence, you are training her to see you as optional, as weak, as a placeholder until something more stimulating comes along. And the reality is, if you want to be respected by anyone, not just her, you need to become a man who carries himself with clarity and quiet strength, not just in relationships, but in how you walk, how you speak, how you lead your day. And modeling respect is about consistency between your standards and your actions. It's about how you handle conflict without losing your edge, how you assert your needs without begging, how you give without being used, how you love without losing yourself. And if you claim to value peace but your life is a mess, if you talk about discipline but your habits are chaos, if you preach respect but you tolerate mockery, then your message means nothing, because your life is your loudest message, and that means your mornings matter. Are you waking up with purpose or snoozing through your life? Your fitness matters. Are you keeping your body strong or outsourcing your worth to her validation? Your finances matter. Are you building something of your own or constantly asking her to believe in your potential? Because respect doesn't come from declarations. It comes from daily actions repeated until they shape who you are. And when she sees that you don't fold under pressure, that you don't react to disrespect but distance yourself from it, that you don't need her to feel whole but you choose her. When she adds peace to your life, she'll either rise or remove herself, and both are blessings. And if she stays, she'll treat you with the respect you've shown yourself. And if she leaves, she'll never forget the man who never lost himself trying to keep her. And either way, you win, because respect isn't something you get by force. It's something you attract by being aligned. And if you're wondering where to start, look at how you treat your time. Do you give it freely to everyone, or do you guard it like the precious resource it is? Look at how you speak about yourself. Do you talk like a victim of life or the author of your outcomes? And look at how you respond when someone crosses the line. Do you joke it off? Do you justify it? Or do you act with dignity and distance? Because every one of those decisions builds or breaks the respect people have for you. And the moment you stop trying to change her and start refining yourself is the moment everything changes. Because the only behavior you can truly control is your own. And when your behavior is rooted in purpose, discipline, and self-worth, you won't have to demand respect. It'll be the natural result of who you've become. Number 5, evaluate the relationship pattern. Most relationships don't suddenly become toxic. They reveal their nature slowly. One ignored comment at a time, one excuse after another, one subtle disrespect layered over weeks, months, even years, until the person in front of the mirror barely resembles the man that once had a mission, a spark, a standard. And what makes this process so dangerous is not how obvious it is, but how quietly it happens, until even silence becomes routine, until affection feels earned only after conflict, until peace feels foreign. And this is where self-deception thrives, in the name of loyalty, in the name of love, in the name of keeping a family or history intact. But history doesn't entitle anyone to your future if that history is built on your suffering, and patterns never lie. They repeat, they imprint, they expose, and the task is to look at the entire rhythm of the relationship, not just the good days, not just the moments when she remembers to smile, to touch your arm, to pretend she's listening. Because almost anyone can be warm when they want something, when they're scared of losing their comfort. But the real truth sits in how conflict is handled, in how support is offered when ambition rises, in whether joy is shared or stifled. And so many men fall into the trap of justifying one good week after 4 bad ones, holding on to the version of her that showed up only when she feared consequences, ignoring the coldness, the manipulation, the indifference, and worse, accepting it as the cost of love. And it's not. It never was. Because love that requires sacrificing identity, that demands abandoning self-respect, that turns intimacy into performance, that isn't love, that's addiction disguised as attachment. And identifying the pattern requires brutal honesty, looking at conversations and seeing if they were dialogues or monologues, looking at achievements and asking whether they were met with celebration or subtle sabotage, looking at arguments and realizing whether the outcome was mutual growth or her emotional dominance. And when that reflection is real, painful clarity follows. Maybe she never saw the real you. Maybe she never wanted to. Maybe she was more invested in molding you into who she needed than respecting who you are. And if that pattern keeps repeating no matter how much effort, communication, patience is offered, then it's not a compatibility issue, it's a power imbalance. And trying to build with someone who profits from your self-betrayal is like pouring water into a broken well, exhausting, endless, and in the end, empty. And breaking this cycle begins with the decision to see things as they are, not as they could be. Because potential doesn't build peace, patterns do. And peace is only possible when two people are growing in the same direction, when mutual respect is the foundation, not a negotiation. And until that's the case, staying only deepens the wounds while calling it healing. Number 6. Prioritize self-respect and self-care. Real transformation starts when energy is no longer wasted trying to fix people who don't see the damage they cause. And that shift happens the moment attention returns inward, when the question changes from, "Why is she like this?" to, "Why is this tolerated?" Because a man cannot become who he's meant to be if he's constantly shrinking himself to avoid triggering someone else's insecurity. And real self-care is not bubble baths and empty affirmations. It's discipline, it's structure, it's building a life so solid that it cannot be shaken by withdrawal of affection, by absence of validation, by emotional manipulation. And it's not just about routines or gym sessions or journal pages. It's about reclaiming identity from the approval of others, especially those who use love as leverage. And self-respect is built in the quiet moments, when the decision is made to no longer chase closure from someone who benefits from confusion, when the phone stays silent, not out of pride but clarity, when sleep returns because peace is no longer traded for proximity, and self-care becomes real when it's consistent, even without applause, when the habits aren't broken just because she's in a good mood again, when progress continues whether she notices or not, and it becomes a statement, not to her but to the world. That value is no longer up for negotiation, that attention is earned, not owed, that presence is a gift, not a gap to be filled by whoever offers a compliment, and what happens next is powerful. Decisions become sharper, boundaries become easier, energy becomes sacred, and the man who once doubted himself for wanting respect now sees clearly that he was never asking for too much. He was asking the wrong person, and that clarity doesn't just heal, it awakens. And from that awakening comes transformation that no relationship can grant or take away, because when peace is internal, love is chosen, not needed, and life becomes a reflection of that internal standard, from career to purpose to the kind of people allowed into your space. And the truth is, the reason so many stay in disrespect is because they believe their needs are negotiable. But once those needs are met from within, through structure, discipline, movement, purpose, solitude, the spell breaks, the desperation ends, and what's left is a man who no longer fears being alone, because he knows solitude isn't loneliness. It's a sanctuary for the man who finally chose himself. Number 7. Create emotional distance. The most powerful form of clarity is silence rooted in strength. Not silence as a punishment, not withdrawal as manipulation, but emotional distance as protection, not from her, but from the version of self that keeps returning to places where value is not reciprocated, where peace is constantly negotiated, where presence is taken for granted, and this distance becomes essential when the same conversations repeat with no change, when boundaries are met with sarcasm, when your feelings are treated like inconveniences, and emotional closeness is weaponized to reel you back in just enough to stop you from leaving, but never enough to truly respect you. And it's not the absence of words that creates the distance. It's the absence of illusion, the realization that consistency matters more than apology, that behavior speaks louder than promises, that patterns matter more than potential, and this shift requires a level of discipline that most men are never taught, a kind of self-control that refuses to let neediness dictate connection, because until space is created, perspective is impossible, and without perspective, the pattern continues and the trap remains, and she will sense it, not through anger, not through revenge, but through the void, through your unavailability, through the absence of reaction when she pushes the same buttons and gets silence instead of confusion, clarity instead of chaos. And that silence is not passive, it is loud with intention. It says, "I see what this is now," and that's when everything shifts, Because emotional distance is the ultimate filter. It shows whether she's capable of change or only comfort, and it reveals whether the relationship was built on respect or routine. Because a man who steps back is not giving up, he's waking up, and from that distance, he begins to rebuild his vision, his rhythm, his sense of self, and what follows is powerful. Clarity in his speech, confidence in his decisions, peace in his space, and a new standard in his connections. Because emotional closeness should never be currency used to buy temporary peace, and once that currency is reclaimed, relationships either evolve or evaporate, and both outcomes are necessary, because staying close to what confuses you is the fastest way to lose yourself. And this step, this distance, is not about changing her. It's about removing the noise so that you can hear your own truth again, so that self-respect is no longer drowned out by empty apologies, so that your next move comes from calm logic, not emotional survival. And from this point on, access becomes earned, not assumed, and not everyone who held your heart gets to hold your time, your energy, or your peace again. Not without proof, not without change, not without consistency that speaks louder than any "I miss you," because those words mean nothing if the behavior remains the same, and distance makes that truth loud enough to never be ignored again. Number 8. Be willing to walk away. The hardest truth for most men to accept is that walking away isn't failure, it's mastery. Because leaving doesn't mean you gave up. It means you finally chose yourself over someone who never truly chose you, over a dynamic that drained you, over a cycle that repeated more apologies than progress. And this decision requires a strength that goes beyond physical toughness. It's the kind of strength that faces discomfort, that welcomes loneliness over disrespect, that embraces uncertainty over familiarity that feels like slow death. And the fear that paralyzes most men is not the fear of being alone, but the fear of letting go of the idea they built around her, the hope they clung to when she showed glimpses of kindness between episodes of disregard. And this hope becomes a prison when it convinces you to stay loyal to pain, just because it occasionally dresses up as love. But hope is not strategy, and potential is not reality. And transformation starts the moment comfort is no longer prioritized over peace, and the price of staying is often everything you were before her. Your confidence, your purpose, your inner stillness, your ambition, and that cost is too high for anyone to pay. And when the decision is made to walk, it must be complete. No breadcrumb texting, no watching stories, no checking mutual friends, because closure is found not in conversations, but in clean cuts, in the refusal to reopen wounds with curiosity. And yes, the grief will hit, but grief is not a reason to stay. Grief is proof that the investment was real, even if the return wasn't. And staying for the sake of time spent is like holding on to a sinking ship because you built it. But a man anchored to pride cannot rise. And it is in the leaving that true strength is revealed, when self-worth finally outweighs sentiment, when vision finally overrides emotion, when truth finally silences excuses. And that moment, that decisive, painful, liberating moment, is the beginning of everything. Because once walked away from disrespect, the world responds differently. People treat you differently. Opportunities meet you differently. And relationships become healthier because your tolerance has evolved. And from here on out, standards become sacred, peace becomes priority, and love becomes a choice made from abundance, not fear. Because the man who walks is not bitter, he's awake. And from that awakening comes the kind of life where being misunderstood is better than being mistreated, where solitude is healing, not punishment, where freedom is not just the absence of control, but the presence of clarity. And that clarity is the reward for the man who walks, not because he wants to, but because staying any longer would mean betraying himself one more time. And once that betrayal ends, everything begins. If everything inside you knows this cycle has to end, if your silence has cost you your peace, if your loyalty has cost you your identity, then don't just keep watching and scrolling. Do something that your future self will thank you for. Comment, "I choose clarity," if you're done living confused. Like the video and subscribe so this message finds more men before they waste another decade in the wrong relationship. And if you're serious about never being broken by disrespect again, then the Stoic relationship blueprint is non-negotiable. It's packed with timeless principles that society prays you never learn, because when men reclaim their peace, the manipulation ends. The audiobook is finally available, so you can listen to it while walking, training, driving. Wherever you are, this truth travels with you. Click the link in the comments. Get the blueprint. End the cycle.